The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Win up to 325 times your money with their new Pick 8. Sign up with the promo code MLB, SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code MLB, SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/rhythm, sportsgamepodcast.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It is currently Sunday, June 9th, roughly 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host for this episode, Scott Reichel, once again joined by Lonte Smith, and together we're going to break down the very short, but hopefully profitable, Monday card. Lonte, how's it going with you? How's your weekend been in baseball?
Scott, what's up, man? Good to be here with you. I had a great weekend. Got a couple of pending plays, they're mostly leading right now, so hopefully we can bring those home. And yeah, man, I'm hoping to carry that momentum into this week. It's been a really good weekend for me. I hope it's been the same for you and the listeners / viewers, I guess, depending on how they're getting this podcast.
Yeah, full disclosure, most of my attention over the weekend went to tennis because you had the French Open semis and final, and I swept the podcast for the final, which is nice. So great. Yeah, definitely still keeping tabs in baseball. Unfortunately, the Yankees without Soto can't hit the ball, which is not too shocking, but a bit of a heartbreaker game on Friday night where Trent Grisham couldn't lay down a sac bunt and then extra innings fell apart. I actually thought the Yankees and extra innings were horrible for years. But apparently it's only been the last 2 years. Either way, though, I think that they are – somebody told me the stats on it. I'll pull it up, but the Yankees and extras are kind of an auto-fade over the last 2 years. They lose all the time in extras, and they ended up losing that one. Then they got buried in the game yesterday. Point is, though, without Soto, the Yankees are struggling. We're not sure if he's going to play again tonight. We'll see what happens. But either way, nothing really too much for baseball that's been catching my eye. I know last episode didn't go too well for me, as you ended up seeing Bello get torched by the White Sox.
That was horrible.
And
that was horrible.
Gibson also didn't exactly have it against the Rockies. I had the team total over, though, for St. Louis, so I ended up splitting my personal plays. Didn't get the -1.5, though, as the dog. Besides that, though, anything really shocked you from this past weekend? Because I feel like it's nothing that surprising, but maybe a couple of upsets here or there. I thought Washington actually fared pretty well against Atlanta.
They just got Atlanta's number. That's all it is. They just have Atlanta's number. It was a crazy game, bro. Did you see Seattle and Kansas City? Was it Friday?
The 8-run comeback?
Oh my God, that was so crazy, bro. So crazy. And they did it again.
The series has been nuts.
Yeah, like the game on Saturday, they were like I think they needed extras, or they needed a rally in like the ninth. And then today they were down 3-1 going into the bottom of the ninth, and they tied up. And I think they're getting beat right now extras. But yeah, I thought that series was like fascinating. I kind of got sick to my stomach watching Stanton strike out every other plate appearance. So that wasn't good.
Don't forget about Rizzo. Rizzo's
yeah, I mean him too, but. I mean, the Dodgers play well. They play well. I give them credit. But outside of that, man, it's been a pretty solid week. I know Jared Jones went today. He got kind of roughed up early, and Managa bounced back from his worst start of the year. He pitched well versus who did they play today? They played the Reds, and the Reds had won like 7 straight.
Managa got a start, I think, before that, where he technically got torched against the White Sox, but not really. Because I think he gave up 1 earned, but like 4 runs. So it was a good shutdown start for Imanaga. But I think he had 1 start after the Brewers killed him about a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, but outside of that, man, I think it's been some pretty good action. I mean, I know you were tied up with tennis, but yeah, pretty good action as far as just overall like eye candy for the sport. I thought it was a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, I do want to ask you, can talk a bit more about the actual weekend card. Any thoughts on the London series? Did you enjoy it? Did you think that it's a bit too, I'd say, gimmicky, or do you actually like the idea of having consistent international baseball games?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Didn't watch 1 inning of it. I was doing other stuff. I did. I'm lying. I watched the 8th and 9th of this of today's game.
In your defense, the game did start at 10 in the morning, and that's kind of a weird time locally for, I'd say, East Coast guys to actually watch. It's even worse if you're in the West Coast. I don't care who the hell's playing. You're not waking up at 7 a.m. To watch, to watch that. It wasn't as wild as like the Korea series earlier in the year, where like every game was starting and nobody really remembered that it was even going on. But International baseball games are something that I appreciate, but I also recognize that they're not for everybody, because we've had games in Mexico where the altitude, you had like, I don't know, 30-something runs in those like Padre games against the Giants a couple years ago.
Yeah.
They've been trying to branch out a bit more. Football's doing the same thing. I think they're having an NFL game in Brazil for the upcoming year. They've already been doing it in like Germany and England, and you know what I mean. So baseball's trying to join on the international craze. I get it. You want to branch out to new audiences. You want to make more money with, jersey sales and overall. I'm aware of what the game is here. I know you're trying to make money by trying to attract other markets. I just wonder. I mean, the crowds were definitely into it for the Phillies and the Mets games, but I was just curious what your thoughts were on the international.
Yeah, I didn't really see I didn't see a whole bunch of it. But the last 2 innings I know were really exciting. I mean, obviously we saw the Mets come back. I want to say storm back. They were only down 3-0. But it looked like Philly usually puts those games away. They're one of those teams.
They came back in the 9th. You said 3-0. They were down early, but they also scored.
I'm just saying. Early on they came back. But yeah, Philly usually puts teams away. Like they usually don't squander leads like that. But again, I mean, I think they got to do something with Walker in that lineup. I mean, he's not been horrible, but he's obviously the weakest link. Every time they're in a closer game or they lose, I mean, it's common that he's just in the lineup. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that's just has something to do with where he was pitching at or what the case may be. But I thought it was a really good game. Well, ending to a game. I can't say it was a really good game because I didn't watch it all. But yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. And I understand, like you said, you want to grow the game, get more eyes on it. Mal was there, so I mean, we should have called him up and have him give us a review. Say it again.
He was there for both games, I think. So.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Mal will talk about it the next time he's back on the show. I feel like the main issue for Philly for the game today, besides the fact that Alvarado fell apart, I've never really been a big Alvarado guy, but I recognize his talent. But he fell apart. He kind of blew the game there. The issue for the Phillies, though, was not getting through to the Mets bullpen enough in about 5 1/3 innings of work. They only scored 2 against the Mets bullpen. We know the Mets bullpen's been terrible for the entire year, basically. So I thought that was an issue. Walker, I'm not a fan of. He was actually okay today. He only gave up 2 hits, only gave up 2 runs. He was fine. But Soto did not record an out, and Alvarado gave up 3 runs, 2 earned. So that's kind of the story of the game. It was entertaining. Shout out to Torrens, though. Phenomenal double play there by the catcher.
Yeah, it was.
That's one of the more athletic plays I've seen from a catcher in a while. To run after a broken bat ground ball, have the presence of mind to sprint back to home plate and then fire it back to first base. That was a great play by Torrens, who's been solid for the Mets over the last week or two. I think he had a 2 home run game against the Nationals earlier this past week. But point is, very fun game, very entertaining, and hopefully future international series are entertaining too. Either way, though, point is, anything else you want to add, or should we move on to the actual card for Monday?
So I was going to ask you, Cole is he's on pace to do his, I don't want to make this into a Yankees thing, but I just want to know your thoughts. What do you do with do you make it like a 6 or like 5 or 6 man rotation, or who goes to the bullpen? What are your impressions on that?
I mean, if you want me to pick based on process of elimination on who's been the worst, it's interesting because Schmidt got injured too, so that in theory opened up a spot. But
yeah, that's true.
If I had to demote anybody, because I actually think Petit's been good, I don't think Nestor Cortez is that good of a starter. And I recognize the Yankees fans love him because of the quirkiness and how he kind of came out of nowhere. Was he a Rule 5 guy? I forgot. But the point is he kind of jumped around. He was with Baltimore. He was really never a factor, and he was just an underdog story. A guy that has come through in some big moments. The issue is I don't think he's that effective. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher. He's very good at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I was going to say,
he's useless on the road. And he gives you no length. He gives you about 5 2/3 tops most of the time, but usually somewhere between 4 and 6 for innings. Yeah. I'm not a Cortez guy. I understand you want to alternate between lefties and righties. Schmidt was very good this year.
Is he done? He's not done, is he, Schmidt?
I don't think he's officially done, but he's not throwing for a month. So if he's going to come back, it'll probably be around September, give or take, maybe mid-August. So if he comes back, he has a spot because he was very good this season. Heel has a shot at the Cy Young. He's not going to win it, but he's going to win Rookie of the Year. You cannot get rid of Heel. He's got to stay there. Rodon's been really good. Just by process of elimination, I think if you had to get rid of one guy, assuming Petit doesn't get demoted again, which I think he will. I think Petit's going to get demoted again, but I actually kind of like him.
Yeah, he's cool. He's got some good stuff. I
think it'd be Cortez, but in reality, depending on how many options Petit has left, he'll be the odd man out.
Yeah, I think I agree there. I would probably if the playoffs started today, would you pitch Hill first game?
No. Well, assuming Cole's not in the
Yeah,
lineup.
Just assuming Cole's not in the lineup.
I don't think you'd put a rookie or a rookie who's been on the team for 3 years. I don't know how that works, but I wouldn't put him for game 1. I would assume it would be probably Rodon.
Yeah, that's what I was
probably.
Thinking. Yeah.
It's really tough. Some people might care about home road splits too. So like Cortez, for example, would never pitch game 1 or game 2 of a. Would never pitch like game 3 or game 4 of a series if the Yankees were at home, because you don't want him on the road because he stinks on the road. So some of it comes down to home road splits, but I would assume it would be Rodon before Cole came back. Cole would obviously get game 1 if he was healthy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, point is, I think Petit's getting demoted again. We'll see how far away Cole is, so keep an eye out for it. Anyway, before we get into any of the actual Monday games on the card, I do want to remind you once again that we have a very nice promo going on, which is the Hockey Gambling Podcast, guys, because the Stanley Cup officially started on Saturday, and they are running a contest with a $200 prize, $100 in cash, $100 in a form of a gift card to the merch store. So check out the actual gambling podcast guys, the Hockey Gambling Podcast guys, and their contest. Sign up at sportsgamepodcast.com/Stanley Cup to enter. Anyway, time to get into the actual Monday card for baseball. Starting off with the first game on the slate. Going to look at a matchup between the Orioles and the Rays. This is actually not a new series. This series is wrapping around to Monday. We also have no day games. This game will be taking place at around 6:50 Eastern time, so no baseball tomorrow. Whether or not there should be, separate story. I think that there should always be at least one day game in baseball, because what are you competing with in the middle of the week? I feel like there just always should be some type of day game going on. But either way, point is the Orioles and the Rays are going to go at it. And for the actual pitching matchup in this game, you have Burns taking the hill against Pepiot. And for this one, the Orioles are minus 150. You have the Rays at plus 130. And you also have the over-under at 7.5. We saw Baltimore's offense break through today as they scored a bunch of runs. Baltimore, we know, is the better team, as they are 42 and they are 42 and 22. They've won each of the first 3 games by multiple runs. In fact, they've won so far in the series. They've outscored Tampa 20-5, and they're going for the 4-game sweep in the Trop. We know Burns is better than Pepe, but Pepe is kind of underrated. Lonte, I'm going to ask you, do you think Tampa avoids the sweep, or are you just going to take Baltimore because there's clearly a massive gap between these two teams?
Yeah, I'll take the latter, man. I think Burns has been on fire. Like you mentioned, how do you say his name? Pepiot?
I just say Pepiot. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Okay, yeah, okay, I guess you can say. Yeah, so Pepiot, he has been okay, but hasn't faced any good offenses. I think Boston was probably the best offense he's faced, and he gave up. Yeah, and he gave up 4 there, so that's just further proven. I think Baltimore is going to tee off on him. Burns hasn't allowed more than 3 runs in the start this season. In fact, in his last 5, he's 4-1. ERA at 1, allowed 1 or less in 4 of those 5 games. 8 straight quality starts. Tampa Bay's hitting 192 versus righties in their last 10. And if you look at it, the relievers for Tampa has been a lot better than the actual starters in their last 10 games, while Baltimore's relievers have been like on fire. 1.71 ERA last 10, allowing 1.99 runs per 9. So I just think Baltimore outclassed them here, man. I don't trust Tampa Bay. I know everybody's, kind of coming into the season. They're that team they're like the Miami Heat of the MLB. You never want to count them out. Ironically, they're both in Florida. You just don't want to count them out because like they typically overachieve. But this year, I don't think it's happening. Baltimore's averaging 6.1 runs this month, 5.2 versus Tampa this year. So I don't see anything changing. I like Burns first 5 and full game.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to also mention about Pepiot is that even though his overall numbers are fine, I have to at least mention the home road splits, because he's been very good on the road and very bad at home. So far this season on the road, 18 innings, 1.5 ERA. At home, 34 and a third, 5.24 ERA. So I don't exactly trust him in the Trop here. I think that he might get into trouble. We know Baltimore is the much better team. That's why they've been smacking this team around. Tampa now officially in the last place in the AL East. Baltimore still trying to catch up to the Yankees, so we'll see if they can do so with Soto being out, because they are now 2 back. Point is, though, I do think I'm going to go with the Orioles. I think the line's a bit cheap at 150. I don't mind the run line. when you win the first 3 games in a series by 3+ runs, I'm going to assume you can do it again. So give me Baltimore -1.5 here at a plus money price. If you want the exact number, you can get the Orioles on the run line at around about +115, give or take. So something to keep in mind if you want to go for Baltimore to win in a rout. Moving on to the next game on the card, you have the Rockies taking on the Twins. For this one, you have the Twins as -215 favorites. Probably the biggest favorite that Paddock's ever been in his life. But the Rockies are +180. You have Hudson taking on Paddock. Both pitchers, stat-wise, not very good. Paddock 4-3, though, with a 5.26 ERA. Hudson 2-7, with an ERA better than Paddock, so 5.25. So beats him by 0.01 on the ERA scale. But for the total, you can get the over-under at about 8. I do see some 8.5s, though, so shop around depending on if you want the over or the under. For this game, simply put, I'm not going to take Paddock at an insane price of -215. Minnesota was in terrible form. I believe they ended up winning the game today against Pittsburgh, but they had lost 5 straight by 3+ runs. So I don't exactly like the current form of this team. And the idea that Paddock is going to be laying 215, I think is nuts. I know the Rockies are a bad team. I know they're awful on the road every year. But at the end of the day, I got to find value somewhere. There's no way there's value on Minnesota at -215. So I'll lean to Hudson, who I recognize had one really good start against the Dodgers. He's actually in decent form for 2 straight starts against the Phillies and the Dodgers. Then the Reds kind of shelled him. Give up 4 runs and 4 1/3 in that game. Walked 4 guys, too. I'm going to go with Hudson. I just think 215 is a crazy price for Paddock when both pitchers, I don't think, are very good. So I'm going to lean to the over at 8, and I'll go with the Rockies.
Yeah, man, I agree with you completely. I'm going to take it a step further. This is probably going to be one of my stronger plays. I like Hudson. Has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in his last 4 road starts, so he's pretty good there. He's going against a team who, hasn't had any offense as of late. He has a low contact rate, no more than 5 hits in his last 7 starts. The only thing that puzzles me here that troubles me with this is he does have some walk issues. But again, on the other side, you got Paddock, who's allowed 4+ runs in 3 of his last 5. 2 of those were at home, and he has home run issues. Although Colorado kind of, we don't think of them as an offensive team. I think that they'll slip. I think that Paddock will slip up and get one or 2 across for Colorado early, and then they'll kind of just. They've been really good in the first 5, Colorado. So in the first 5 of their last 4 games, they're 4-0 and outscoring opponents 14-8. If you look at just their road, just strictly first 5 on the road, they're 6-4 in their last 10 on the road in the first 5. So I love them in the first 5. The Minnesota starters ERA in the last 10 games, Scott, 6.92. The relievers 1.63. So that just goes to let me know that I think they can jump on them early, get to Paddock before they get to the bullpen. Minnesota's hitting 204 in their last 10. Colorado's hitting the ball a lot better, 243, 8.3 hits in that span as well. I trust Hudson more than I do Paddock here. So I'll take Colorado first 5 in full game.
Yeah, I'll sort of throw out the home road splits that you alluded to with Hudson. His home numbers this season, 27 1/3 innings, a 7.57 ERA. On the road, 34 1/3 innings, a 3.41 ERA. So he has been a lot better on the road, as you said, than at home. I think at the end of the day, though, this price is absurd. So Minnesota, even though they're at home and they are better record-wise, and at home they're decent this season, I can't back a team that lost on the run line in like 5 of their last 6 or 6 of their last 7. I can't do it. I just think at the end of the day, this line is way off. Give me the Rockies. I don't mind the Rockies maybe first 5 team total over. It might be 1.5. It's probably 1.5 at a decent price against Paddock. And I think the Rockies can find a way to get there. They ended up looking pretty decent, at least at times, against the Cardinals. They won the game on Saturday. Shout out to Tovar, by the way, who had 4 hits and 2 home runs in that game. Ended up losing today. It happens. They're not a good team. But Minnesota has been struggling too. So I think the price is nuts. Give me the Rockies. And I agree with you about the Rockies first 5. Don't mind a team total, though. I think that they can get the Paddock, and I think they can get to potentially 4 runs in this game. So I like the over. You have any thoughts on the actual total for this game?
Yeah, I agree with the over. I mean, I think Colorado can get it. I maybe go first 5 over because, like I mentioned, the relievers for Minnesota have been really, really good.
Yeah,
and
but the Rockies bullpen's terrible, though. So that's
I guess you can trade it off. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll go first 5 over for a little stronger, but I do agree with your sentiments about the full game over as well.
Yeah. Before we get into any of the other games on the card, though, I do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because the Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Great entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex your entry so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. You know how much money I'd have if I was able to lose twice in one entry and still get winnings? That would be a solid time. Point is, though, with more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries, and I personally am going to use one of my pick 8 choices on Tatum rebounds tonight or double-double. I think he's in line for another solid game. Lonte and I talked about it. I'm assuming your entry is going to feature the PJ Washington points and rebounds.
Absolutely. Yep. That's one of my favorite plays.
Yep. I think that was at 18.5. Don't miss out on your chance, though, to try it out before it's gone. Sign up with the promo code MLB, SGPN, to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $50 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy. Promo code MLB, SGPN.
Yeah, that's cool.
Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished breaking down the first couple games on the Monday card. Now it's time to keep it rolling. Going to look at a matchup between the Yankees and the Royals taking place at around 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. For this game, good pitching matchup. You have Rodon pitching against Lugo. You have the Yankees on the money line at -130. You have the Royals on the money line at +110. Over-under in this game is set at 8.5. Lonte, the Yankees, we know, have been very good this season, but without Soto in the lineup, the team's been struggling a bit more, and I know he's not suiting up on Sunday night. Yankees are playing the night game, and then they have to travel to Kansas City, so not a great scheduling spot, but they're having worse scheduling spots because at least this game's a night game, so they can potentially figure it out on time. Point is, though, with Lugo being great and Rodon being great, I do think it's going to be a close game, but I think I have to lean to Kansas City because at least I know what to expect from this team. The Yankees, with and without Soto, are two completely different teams. And without knowing if he's going to be in the lineup or not, I think I got to take plus money with Kansas City. You?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Lugo, four of his last 5 starts have been on the road, so he's coming back home. He actually was shelled by Cleveland in his last home start, so he's looking to bounce back from that. Like I said, the home metrics don't really support how good Kansas City is at home, but they're unbelievable at home. But they do hit under 230 at home, and the Yankees hit above 250 on the road. But in their last 10, Kansas City's been really on fire, hitting over almost 260. They are 10-2 in their last 12 home games. But on the opposite end, the Yankees are 11-2 in their last 13 road games, 10 of those by multiple runs. But I think the pitching of Kansas City, I think this will be a low-scoring game for one. So I'm leaning towards the under. But plus money with Lugo on the mound, I mean, I got to lean there. I mean, Kansas City's pitching has not been as good. The ERA is above 5 on base. The on base percentage is above, like, really higher than what it usually is on average. So I'm going to go with Kansas City at home, thinking that their pitching staff gets in order and they kind of bounce back in this series, especially without Soto. It just came across that Soto's missing tonight, but he's likely to be back in the lineup tomorrow. So I'm not sure how much that changes your opinion.
Yeah, point is I might have to actually wait until I know more information about Soto before I end up potentially playing this. I probably won't play the side, but plus 110 without knowing if Soto's going to suit up, I do think is kind of appealing. I do want to mention, though, Rodon's a lot better at home than on the road so far this season at Yankee Stadium. 2.3 ERA and 31 1/3. On the road, 41 2/3 innings and a 3.67 ERA. I do have a trivia question for you. Last time Rodon pitched against the Royals, how many outs did he record?
I would say 8.
The answer is 0.
Damn. Wow.
It's 0. You had 0 outs. You might remember that game. But to go through that actual stat line, it was arguably the worst pitching performance of all time. It was the last start of the year, actually.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
0.0 innings pitched, 8 earned runs allowed. So he has a chance to make amends. That was the last start from last year, and that was in Kansas City. So he had kind of a nightmare appearance there. In fact, you actually can't get much worse than that as a starting pitcher. So I wanted to mention that Rodon has had an issue here in the past, or at least he has struggled in his last outing here. So with that being the case, I think I am going to go with the Royals here. Kind of also daring Rodon to make amends, because maybe, I don't want to say PTSD sets in, but when you give up 8 runs with 0 outs, I do wonder how you're going to look your next time in the same building. Moving on, though, to the next game on the card, you have the Blue Jays taking on the Brewers. For this one, the total is set at around 8.5. I know we had a very good read on the Blue Jays in the last game on Saturday, as we thought Gausman would pitch very well. And I like the over on strikeouts. And he had a complete game, I believe it was a complete game shutout, and he struck out 10 guys. So he pitched well. Toronto is still a psycho team, but for one day, we actually guessed them correctly. So I guess you can say we're on a roll. They're currently up 2-1 in the 7th inning, so maybe they'll be able to finish off the series in a positive note against Oakland. But you have Berrios most likely taking the mound against Rhea. For this one, the Blue Jays are -115. Milwaukee is -105. Over-under is set at around 8.5. Berrios this season's been great, 2.8 ERA and a 5-4 record. As for Rhea, he's been fine, a 3.53 ERA. Pitched well against the Phillies in his last outing. Technically did not start because they used an opener, and I am wondering if they're going to use an opener again. That might be their new thing with Rhea on the mound. So maybe Koenig gets another start, technically, pitches 1 inning, and we'll go from there. But to ask you about this matchup, I'm going to lean to the under in this game. I think Berrios and Rhea can actually pitch well. Toronto offensively is a psycho team. Milwaukee offensively solid, but I do think that Berrios has been good this season. So I see a lower scoring game. I think 8.5 is too high. I'll go with the under.
Yeah, I like the under as well. You led me into my main point is, Rhea's been mostly working out of the bullpen, so I'm not sure what they're going to do in this matchup, which is I'll lean to Toronto. I mean, just because we know what we're getting with Berrios as far as consistency. He's had 5 straight quality starts, but just to show you how psycho Toronto is, he only has 1 win in that span, despite having 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 of his 6 road starts. So Toronto's, they've been okay. I think they broke out offensively yesterday, but they're kind of right back in the same place today. They scored 2 runs in the top of the, I think, first, and then so they have nothing else. And you said it was the 7th inning, so like their offense hasn't been consistent all year. Hitting 222 in their last 10, 3.3 runs per 9. Milwaukee kind of got beat up against Detroit today and this weekend. But I think Milwaukee in their last 10, they're 7-3. Well, I guess 11 if they'll be 7-4. They're averaging 7.4 runs and in the W's, less than a run in the losses. So that pretty much tells the story right there. I think Berrios will be able to come in, go well. I like the under. I like Toronto first 5, Scott. I'll just go away from the full game and take Toronto first 5.
Yeah, I can get behind that. As for the side, I don't have much, to be honest. I think that Toronto is a team I don't exactly trust on a regular basis. I only trust them one time because they were against Oakland. So I think I'm going to lean Milwaukee at home because Toronto is still right now 3 under on the road. If they win right now, they'll be 2 under. But Milwaukee is still 18-10 at home. So I'm going to lean to Milwaukee, but I'm not going to bet the side. Maybe I'll bet the under, but that's the only thing I'm really tempted by in this matchup. Moving on, you have the White Sox taking on the Mariners. Mariners won a crazy game in the series finale against Kansas City, and the White Sox blew another lead against the Red Sox and ended up losing in extras, I believe. The White Sox, though, we know, had lost 14 straight. Then they won 2 games in a row. Look at that, and they ended up losing on Sunday. Seattle, though, is the better team, but they are laying a big price because the White Sox can't win games just really anywhere. Seattle, though, is a -225 favorite with Gilbert on the mound, and you have the White Sox at around +190 with Fetty on the mound. The over-under in this game is set at around, pulling it up, 7. I even see some 6.5s, which I think is absolutely nuts to me. On principle, I'll lean to the over. 6.5 is crazy with this White Sox bullpen. Like, that's a nutty line to have. Even Seattle's bullpen's been leaking oil a little bit recently. So, first glance, I'll take the over 6.5. That's a crazy line for the White Sox.
Yeah, I might lean the other way, Scott. Man, I like Fetty.
I didn't say I didn't like the pitchers. I'm just saying 6.5 with this White Sox bullpen. I'm good. That's crazy.
But if you look at just the offense initially, I mean, Seattle is, they are pitching lights out. As usual, opponents batting under 200 in the last 10, ERA of 2.5. They can't really score. They scored this weekend, but I think that's pretty much. I don't think that is like a consistent thing to do. Gilbert is 2-4 in his last 6 starts. He has a quality start in 4 of those. Has not been sharp as of late. 20 earned runs in his last 6, 9 in his first 7. So kind of got to get back to that form. But this is my bread and butter here. Chicago in the first 5 with Fetty or Crochet on the mound. 3 earned runs or less for Crochet. 4 of his last 6. 4 of those have been shut out. He's been much better at home, but I think he'll travel here. I'm gonna go with White Sox first 5, Scott. I think first 5 and first 5 under will be a better play here. Fetty is 8-2 in his last 10 first 5s. So I think we see little to no offense. Seattle's hitting under 210 in their last 10 and under 200s versus righties in their last 10. So I don't see a lot of offense here. I think Fetty can hold strong and maybe pull off an upset if he can get 6 innings, maybe get another quality start in, because like you mentioned, the bullpen ERA is almost 9. The starters 5.2, so that's the big story here. So I'll go with the White Sox first 5, and I'll go first 5 under.
Yeah, I think I mentally reserve 6.5s for elite starting pitching. No offense to Gilbert, and Fetty's been pretty good too, but conceptually, Fetty and Gilbert are 6.5.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I get you.
You save the 6.5 with like DeGrom or somebody, or like you want to go for an elite starting pitcher this season, even like a Luis Heel this season, somebody who has an ERA of like 1 in the last month and a half. Gilbert and Fetty, 6.5, I think is nuts. If you want to go through trends, by the way, each game for the weekend with Seattle had at least 11 runs. So the bullpen has not been good. The offense has been better. The White Sox have had at least 7 runs in a combined, not just, I mean, in their offensive numbers. White Sox games have had at least 7 runs in 9 straight. So with that being the case, I just think 6.5 is too low. I'll lean to the over. I agree, though, about the White Sox first 5. I think that's a good angle. I think Seattle 215 is too big of a number.
Yes, sir.
For maybe it's fair for the full game because the White Sox bullpen blows games like it's their job. But I do think that the White Sox can lead after 5. 6.5, though, I have to at least mention. I think that's a crazy number for Fetty versus Gilbert. So I'm going to go with the over on that one. I think that line is too short. And it's actually not even the only 6.5 on the card today, because we have the A's taking on the Padres. And for this one, by the way, Toronto did just blow the game. They're down 3-2 right now to Oakland. So yeah, they might end up losing a series to Oakland. So once again, I'll lean to Milwaukee for Monday's game. Anyway, point is the other game we're going to talk about. You have Cease taking on the A's. For this one, you have the total once again at 6.5. And this one might even be dumber because you have Estes on the mound, who has a 4.67 ERA. He has been a lot better lately, I'll admit it, but still, he's on the mound. And you have Cease on the mound, who has a 3.51 ERA. And this game's also at 6.5. For the actual money line, the Padres are minus 200. The A's are plus 170. Lonte, I know people like Cease a lot. I'm not one of those guys. He's 5-5, so the Padres don't win many of his outings anyway. He has given up at least 3 earned in at least 5 straight. I got to pull this up, actually. 5 straight starts allowing 3+ runs. Why is this at 6.5?
Yeah, I like the over as well, Scott. I didn't have much in this game, but I like it. I like it as well. I mean, I think maybe if Estes is not going well, I mean, San Diego can probably get this themselves. They hit really well on the road, a lot better than they do at home. And when Estes has been good, 1 earned run or fewer in 3 of his 5 starts, but he's had 12 in his other 2, like 12 combined. So that just shows you he's kind of a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde. I'm going with the over, Scott. I absolutely did not have much on this game, but I'll lean to the over if anything. I just don't trust these pitchers to, like you mentioned in the last breakdown, that's for elite pitching, and I think both of these guys are far from elite. Cease is okay, but very far from elite.
Even San Diego, you're looking at the numbers right now. The last 2 games that they played, they won 10-3 against Arizona in the second game. They won 13-1 in the third game of the series, and right now they're down 9-3 in the 4th inning. So they've had a bunch of high-scoring games. I just think that this line is a bit nuts to me. Estes has been better recently. I'll acknowledge that. And I guess the argument is Oakland, just overall offensively, is a mess, especially on the road. I think that's the main argument. But this number's nuts. I just can't get behind this. I think that even though Estes can, in theory, pitch well, we'll see how San Diego does in the last couple of innings of this game. They still have 3 runs in 4 innings. So offensively, they've been actually pretty good for the last few days. But to go through Estes' numbers, since I do want to quickly pull that up, Estes, over the last couple of starts I mentioned before, has been solid. Overall, he has allowed 1 run the last 2 starts combined. We know Oakland's bullpen's good when they're winning, maybe not so much when they're losing. But I do want to point out that on the road this season, he has been worse, I believe, than at home. To go through Estes' road numbers, 13 2/3 innings, a 6.59 ERA. I got to take the over. I think 6.5 is a crazy one. So I'm going to blindly take the overs on the 6.5s tomorrow. I just think that's a crazy price, or a crazy line, I mean, for Estes against Cease and for Fetty against Gilbert. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I agree with you 100%. I didn't have much on this game. I won't be betting that at all. But if if it gets to the point where I'm thinking that, I did get a little bit deeper into it, but I might go over. But as I'm looking at it now, I'll probably be a stay away.
Yeah, and for the side, by the way, I've called them the Blue Jays of the West before. I'll go back to it. I'm not laying $2 at the Padres. That's just not happening. So it either would be leaning to Oakland or nothing. Probably nothing. You have any thoughts on the side?
Nah, none at all. None at all.
All right. Last game on the card. You have a matchup between the Astros and the Giants. For this one, you have the Astros being around -125. You have the Giants at +105. Palms are sweaty. Arrigetti's pitching for the Astros, and you have Harrison pitching for the Giants. For the actual total in this game, the line is currently being set at around 8. I'm going to lean to Arizona. Not Arizona. I'm going to lean to Houston in this game. I actually like Houston first 5 team total over. Harrison's been kind of a mess for the last month, and I feel like not enough people have noticed. But to go through the overall numbers on Harrison for the last month or so, he has allowed 4+ runs in 3 straight starts. He's allowed 3+ runs in 5 straight starts. So you might be able to find a Houston first 5 team total of potentially 2.5 at maybe plus money. I'm intrigued by it. Harrison's been worse at home than on the road this season. So far this season at home, 31 innings, a 4.65 ERA. I like Houston first 5. I think that with the recent struggles of Harrison, once again, 3+ earned runs in 5 straight starts, I think Houston can jump them. So give me Houston first 5.
Yeah, I like the over in general. I think both of these teams will be able to score here with the pitchers on the mound. Arrigetti was pulled from his last start. He had a calf contusion, so he only pitched 3. He still has allowed 4+ earned runs in 3 of his last 5 starts. Walk issues, at least 3 in his last 3 starts. And Harrison, you mentioned it, like his contact has been way up in his last few starts. 20 hits in his last 11 innings pitched, multi-home runs in 2 of his last 3 games. Don't trust Arrigetti, especially not coming off a calf contusion, which is pretty much his plant leg to pitch. So I think both of these teams can score here, Scott. I like the over.
Yeah, I agree with you on the over. I don't exactly trust either pitcher in this game. Arrigetti has been really underwhelming. Even when he's good, he's streaky. He'll have one good start followed by like a bad start or 2 bad starts. So I don't trust anybody, but I do think that the first 5 team total is worth a look based on how bad or how consistently average we've seen Harrison pitch over the last month. You're getting a shout out, by the way, from Reichel for your picks on the site. Don't forget to check out the site because Lonte gives out picks for free. So don't forget to check that out. I'm supposed to be doing that. I have not been doing that, but I've been supposed to. So apologies if you've been waiting for my picks. Point is, though, don't forget to check out the Sports Camp Podcast website if you do want to find more betting picks for baseball. Besides that, though, that's going to do it for the actual card. I know we got to do the lock and dog picks for Lonte. Anything else you want to add for the Monday card as a whole?
Oh, no, that's it. I think we pretty much covered it.
Cool. So before we get into the actual lock and dog picks, I want to remind you once again that we're brought to you by Rhythm. There is actually a basketball game tonight, Game 2 of the NBA Finals. So if you want to go for some last-second player props, you need to get Rhythm because Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game. Make it easy to go through and to find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning the algorithm to give you the best chance at winning. They pair predictions with graphs, so you can feel more confident whether it involves DFS or actual bets. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm has player props, all backed by AI data, so you don't have to constantly scroll through sports books. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models. You can get AI-backed money line, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Claim your free 7-day trial by going to sportscamppockets.com. sportscamppockets.com/RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the Monday card. Limited, but I think it's 7 games, but should be a decent amount of angles to find. Lonte, I'm going to ask you first, what is your lock and dog picks, or what are your lock and dog picks for the show?
Yeah, I'm going to go with locking up Baltimore. I think they're -150. I think that might be the best you can do. A little bit of juice there, but I think it's more than worth it with Burns on the mound. Went through the numbers. I'll go through them briefly. 1 earned run or less in 4 of his last 5. 8 straight quality starts. I mean, Baltimore's had Tampa's number. I mean, 4-1 or 5-1 after the win today. All of those wins are by multiple runs. If you want to take the run line, I don't hate that as well. The relievers are pitching good. The bats are swinging. I just think that this is a little bit of undervalue. I think you're getting a little bit of value with Baltimore here. They've been burying Tampa Bay. So I think it's a pretty much mismatch on the mound and especially offensively. So I'm going with Baltimore -150 for the lock. For the dog, I like the first 5, but it's not out. But I'll go full game. I'll go Colorado full game. Don't trust Paddock land this big of a number. I think that they're returning home. Minnesota's returning home from a rough road trip where they went 3-8, and 6 of those losses are by multiple runs. So they're returning home. I don't trust the offense. Don't trust Paddock. I think Hudson's been a lot better. Low contact rate, like I mentioned, has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in his last 4 road starts. So he pitches well on the road. If we could just get the offense to kind of be a little bit more consistent and get to Paddock before they get to the bullpen, who's been pitching well, I think we can get this. I think we can get home with Colorado, man. So I'm going with the Rockies on the money line.
All right. So for my lock on the show, I think I actually am going to go with the Rockies in some capacity. I'm going to go with the Rockies' first 5 team total over. I think it's going to be a 1.5. I mean, Minnesota's laying 215, and the total's around 8.5. So you're probably getting Rockies' first 5 team total at 1.5. The Rockies offensively have actually been pretty good recently. They only had 1 run in the game on Sunday, but they had scored 5 runs in the 2 games prior to that. I think at the end of the day, you're looking at Paddock just not being very good. Just simply put, I think you're looking at a guy who is an average at best pitcher, most likely a below average 4 or 5. He's been terrible lately too. Last 2 starts for Paddock, 9 2/3, 11 earned runs. So I find 1.5 offensive for a team total for Colorado in the first 5. So give me the Rockies first 5 team total over 1.5 as my lock. Don't have a price on that, but as soon as that gets posted, I will definitely let you guys know what it is. For the actual dog, I did think about the -1.5 for Baltimore, but I don't know if I want to just use the same game as you. I feel like you're kind of cheating the people out of points here.
No, I mean, if you want to use that one, I got another one.
I thought about it, but I think I'm going to go potentially elsewhere. I'm going to go with an alt over. Give me the over 7.5 in the Oakland and San Diego game. I think that line's a bit nuts at 6.5. I don't know what the actual price is going to be at 7.5. Might be a small amount of plus money, but I do think that with Cease's recent performances, he's been consistently average. I just roasted Harrison for being the same thing. He's giving up 3 runs all the time. I know Oakland offensively has been really, really bad. Like, I understand that's why this line is so short. I get it. The point is, though, Oakland has 3 runs right now. I'm not sure how many runs they're going to score in this game, but Estes has also been really bad on the road, and San Diego has been involved in a lot of high-scoring games recently. They scored double-digit runs on Friday and Saturday, but Cease has allowed 3+ runs in 5 straight starts. I just think that this line's kind of nuts. I'll go with the over, and I'm going to take an alt over. Give me the over 7.5 into the Oakland and San Diego game. That's going to wrap it up. So once again, Lonte, just remind everybody what your picks are. You're going with Baltimore.
I'm going lock -150 right? In Colorado. Yep.
Okay, and I'm going to go with the Rockies' first 5 team total over. 1.5 runs is my lock. Don't have a price on that, but with the total full game and with the money line for Minnesota, it will be 1.5. So I am going to go with the Rockies there. First 5, 1.5. For the dog, I am going to go with an alt over. Give me the Oakland and San Diego over 7.5. I spit at the 6.5. That line's a disgusting line. Give me the 7.5 instead. That's going to wrap it up. I do not know what the schedule is. Munaf hasn't told us yet, so I don't know. But I'll be back at some point over the course of the week. A reminder, Lonte and I also covered Game 2 of the NBA Finals. So if you want to check out some last-minute thoughts and player props on the game that starts in about 2 hours, you know where to go. Check out the NBA show as well. And Lonte and I did break that down about a day or 2 ago. Lonte, anything else you want to add, or should we officially wrap up the show?
Nah, man, I'm looking forward to another successful, profitable week for the whole show. And, man, hopefully we can just stay hot, stay consistent, because, it's a long, long season.
Yep. Besides that, find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the tennis show. Gonna have a tennis show tonight. We got grass season in tennis, so I'm going to preview a couple of events taking place over the next week. Besides that, you can also find me on the WNBA show. Did an episode with Terrell for the card today. Find Lonte on Twitter at XXLonteXX. I know he's constantly giving out picks over there. He's also on the NBA show. He actually submits his baseball picks. He does what I'm supposed to be doing, so he does that too. But until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.